I'm Harold Carver, and with the help of artificial intelligence, we bring this story to life for you. Discover the enigmatic strangers of the Tarim Mummies, fully detailed in my book. In the heart of Western China lies the Taklamakan. Do not come out. This sea of death is a boundless expanse of shifting dunes where the sun bleaches the earth and the air is heavy with silence. Yet, beneath these lethal sands, nature performed a final, miraculous act of preservation. Here lie the Tarim Mummies. Bronze Age remains frozen in time with a precision that rivals the most deliberate embalming of the Nile Valley. Their faces, preserved for 4 millennia, reveal a jarring dissonance against the landscape. They possess striking feature-high cheekbones, deep-set eyes, and hair ranging from light brown to golden blonde, with their East Asian neighbors. The most famous of these, the beauty of Lulan, wears a vivid high-collared woolen tunic in a tartan pattern that screams of a distant, Western ancestry. The stakes of this discovery extend far beyond simple curiosity. For a century, scholars have been haunted by a singular, unsettling question, representing a lost branch of ancient North Eurasians. The visual evidence suggests a Western origin, Tian Shan and Pamir Mountains. This is not just an archaeological puzzle, it is a challenge. If these individuals spoke Indo-European languages and possessed genetic profiles consistent with the West, suggesting a pre-Silk Road connection that defies conventional wisdom. To understand these strangers, we must first comprehend the geography that cradled them, for the Tarim Basin is not a passive, active participant in their survival. The extreme hyper-aridity, with rainfall plummeting below 20 millimeters annually, it was this specific environmental accident, rather than any deliberate ritual, that preserved this, whose silence of the desert is a physical weight, yet paradoxically ensures the survival of the dead. The drying of rivers and the encroaching aridity transformed oases into tombs, burying these people in a hyper-arid crucible where the very air acted as a preservative agent. The story of these remains entered the modern consciousness not through a sudden revelation. The imperial rivalry between European powers in the late 19th century. It was Sven Hedin, the Swedish explorer, whose expeditions between 1899 and 1902 fundamentally altered the map of Central Asia, driven by a hunger for manuscripts and cartographic dominance. He was followed by others, including the British archaeologist Aurel Stein, who traversed the basin with leather-bound field kits and camels, viewing the artifacts of dead civilizations as the rightful spoils of conquest. These early expeditions were characterized by a mixture of scientific curiosity sacrificed for the acquisition of the rare. Nowhere is the complexity of this Bronze Age society more vividly encapsulated than at Xiaoe, a site emerging from the desolation of the Lop Nur Desert. Excavated in the early 2000s by Wu Zishan, it was not a simple burial ground, a structured, monumentalized effort to memorialize the dead using the natural resources of the immediate environment. The site is characterized by a rectangular arrangement of 13 known graves, creating a carefully ordered forest of dark wood rising from the pale, slain soil. These were boat coffins constructed from larch wood. Before one considers the stratigraphy or the DNA, the first thing that strikes a visitor to the Xiaohe necropolis is the color. It is not the pale, earth-stained beige one might expect of a tomb sealed for 4 millennia. It is a riot of ochre, rust red, deep indigo, and mustard yellow, preserved with a sun. These are not merely shrouds. They are garments, often worn by the deceased, wrapped tightly around bodies desiccated by the hypersaline soil. The distinctive checkered patterns, particularly the bold red and white plaids seen on the beauty of Lulan, bear an uncanny resemblance to the tartans of later Scottish tradition. This visual cue is so potent that it has shaped the popular imagination and influenced early hypotheses regarding a direct Western Eurasian lineage. Yet, As with every aspect of this record, the surface appearance masks a complexity that resists simple narratives. For decades, the narrative of the Tarim was haunted by a chronological fog that obscured the precise moment when the winds of the Taklamakan first carried the scent of wool and the language of the steppe into the heart of Eurasia. Early expeditions placed these remains in a nebulous Bronze Age, oscillating between the 2nd and 1st millennia BC, their textiles to cultures in the Near East or the Scythians. It was not until the advent of high-precision radiocarbon dating that the scientific community began to untangle this knot, moving from vague designations to a sharply defined timeline. The stakes of this dating are immense. A shift of even 200 years transforms the Tarim from a remote outpost of the Tocharians into a vibrant pre-Silk Road crossroads. While the mummies offer a physiology that is visually arresting but historically mute, evidence of the spoken tongues that once resonated through the corridor of the Taklamakan. The recovery of these texts revealed a branch of the Indo-European language family flourishing in the heart of Asia, thousands of miles from its presumed point of origin. The initial discovery was accidental, a byproduct of the great imperial archaeologies of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Among the earliest figures to recognize the linguistic anomaly was the German scholar Emil Sieg. Sieg, a specialist in Sanskrit, was initially baffled by the texts, which he eventually identified as Tocharian, a language that defied the expectation that such Indo-European tongues should only exist in the West. Before the advent of nuclear sequencing, the study of human variation was predicated on the physical measurement of bone, a discipline that for a century approached the Tarim mummies through the calipers of craniometry. When the first mummies were brought to international attention in the 1980s by peoples of Sino-Tibetan or Proto-Tibetan origin. However, the physical appearance of mummy saw tall stature, wide In 1984, Jia Lanpo, a prominent Chinese paleoanthropologist, published a preliminary analysis noting that the cranial vaults were high and dolichocephalic, diverging significantly from the norms of contemporary East Asian populations. Yet even Jia, working under political constraints, when the landmark study published in Nature in 2021 finally revealed the genetic profile of the earliest Tarim mummies. The result was neither expected nor led by Qiao Fu and Li Jijun. The study showed that the individuals buried in the arid sands, dating back to 2000 BC, possessed no genetic affinity with the Yamnaya population at all. They lacked the characteristic steppe pastoralist markers that define the Bronze Age expansions across Europe and Asia. Instead, these individuals were found to be the direct descendants of a much older, isolated population group known as the ancient North Eurasians, a lineage thought to have vanished or been absorbed. This finding upended the consensus that the Tarim Basin was colonized by a cohesive migrating bloc from the west. If the 2020 study fixed the genetic identity of the earliest mummies within an isolated Ain lineage, it simultaneously unsettled the broader narrative of Indo-European dispersal. For the first time, a genome-wide study suggested that the inhabitants of the Xiaowei and Quizil cemeteries possessed no recent genetic input from the Eurasian steppe. Yet, to accept this isolation as the complete picture would be to mistake a snapshot for a film. The Tarim Basin was a porous depression, open to the wind, while the earliest layers demonstrated remarkable consistency and ancestry. How do we explain the later appearance of distinctively steppe-associated cultural markers on wheeled vehicles and bronze metallurgia within a basin that genetics claimed was isolated? This is not merely a puzzle of material culture versus biological descent. The full case, the intricate evidence of the boat coffins, and the shocking genetic conclusions are laid out in the book. This is not a simple story of East versus West, survival, and the enduring power of the human spirit in the face of a hostile environment. The Tarim Basin holds not just the dead, but the keys to understanding how human population change. The mystery is not fully solved. It is a living history that continues to be written, and the ink is not yet dry. To understand the mechanics of this unique Bronze Age world, you must read the full narrative. If this gripped you, the complete story, the full evidence and Harold Carver's own conclusions is laid out in his book on the Tarim Mummies, the strangers in the desert, linked right below this video. Subscribe now. Every week, we reopen a mystery that history left unsolved. Thank you for watching. Get the Tarim Mummies, The Strangers in the Desert by Harold Carver on Amazon. The link is in the description. And subscribe for a new investigation every week.